Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club, your number one stop for stellar reviews of volumes, arcs, or stories that us or yourselves choose. You can find us live every Wednesday on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, and the replay on all podcast networks. Take a seat, get yourselves and your opinions ready, as it's time to join the herd. But first, please put your hands together for your hosts, Shane, Phil, Scott, and Martin, as they kick off this week's discussion.
Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining us for another live rendition of what's sure to be another great show of the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. This week we are reading and discussing a Herd's Choice from one of our regulars, Steve. You can find Steve on Instagram. I will amend the details below to put there, but I think I might have already done it. I can't remember. It's been a long old day. We are reading Daredevil, and it's the Chip Zdarsky Volume 1. It is... Where do we find this? Totally forget. No Fear, issues 1 to 5. Chip Zdarsky, art by Marco Checchetto, colors by Sonny Jiao, and letters by Clayton Cowles. Yeah. I'm your host this evening. I usually host on my picks. It's not my pick, as I said, it's a Herd's Choice pick, but this is good enough to be one of my picks for sure. So I'm going to host it as if it is one of my picks. Yes, I will, to my own horn. I am, of course, joined, as per usual, by Shane.
Ahoy, hoy.
And by Martin.
Evening all.
And Scott's not with us this evening. He had a last-minute conical irrigation appointment come up, so he's away getting himself cleaned out. I wish I was too. Yeah, I know. It's horrible. Yeah. I don't have a synopsis for this book, but I can just kind of run it off by memory. I've read this a few times now. This takes off where Daredevil's coming back from being injured. He's had surgeries, he's had concussions, and he's now back as the devil of Hell's Kitchen. And he is patrolling, I suppose. They're trying to be a presence in the skies of Manhattan in hopes of criminals not wanting to commit their crimes. Takes on a bunch of low-level crooks robbing a store, and he's rusty. He can't fend off 3 random blokes like he used to before. And unfortunately, one of them dies via head trauma in the hospital hours later. He's not convinced he's responsible. He thinks it's fake or he's getting set up. But this arc's all about him coming to the realization that he actually did cause this guy's death. And he's struggling with it. So we get some cameo appearances from some of his friends who basically tell him he's done. Hang up the cape or hang up the cowl. Sorry, you are done as Daredevil. And then of course we have Wilson Fisk, who is relishing in the fact that he is now a murderer. He's no more righteous than he ever claimed to be. So yeah, this was the volume 1 from Chip Zdarsky, and I have to say, love this run myself personally. It's actually the first run of Daredevil I read. I read this first before I started going back to read some of the Daredevil classics. So yeah, this is what I would have picked myself. Steve got there first, but I'll claim it as my own. Let's see if anyone's in the chat. LB0811, howdy fellas. First time caught one live in a while, sorry. But I am enjoying this run a lot, so looking forward to what you guys think of the start. Also need a refresher on what happened as well. Yeah. To be fair, I find this, I've read this and I've loved this run, but rereading this, I'm like, oh yeah, that's so cool. That's so right. And we have the man himself, Steve. It's an evening, guys. And Sam Taylor's here. Hi, Sam. Evening all. Looking forward to hearing everyone's thoughts. Really enjoyed the run. And Steve said it was my first ever Daredevil run I read too. So this is the thing, like, we'll touch on this more in the writing. I did find this run was one of those ones that you weren't bogged down with what came before. It literally stripped everything back down to the kind of ground level that the Daredevil is. So yeah, I'm going to start with Martin to kick things off because I know you're a fan of this as well.
Yeah. This is my first Daredevil 2.
Oh,
so this is a group thing at the moment. This is my first one as well. I've read like 4 or 5 trades of this already. I haven't finished this run, but I love this run. This is what made me fall in love with Daredevil and made me want to go back and start picking up some of the stories that come before. I haven't dived into anything else pre this yet. But yeah, I'm a big fan of this series. It is a great start. And I didn't say it like yourself, I don't feel bogged down by what come before. Even though I want to know, I don't think it sort of stopped me from enjoying this story.
Yeah. Shane, you know, you're obviously the DC guru, I suppose, of this group. This is Marvel. This is not cosmic Marvel, which is a good thing. This is ground level stuff. What did you think?
I thought this was actually really good compared to the other Daredevil we read. I wasn't a massive fan of that. It was too much was done in the daytime for the last one, and I felt, you know, I don't know Daredevil as well as everyone else, but I do feel like he works better at night. He's more of a Batman character, isn't he? He works shadows and at night. So that one was really weird with all the daytime stuff. It was like, was it not set in California or something? Some bright sunny place.
Well, yeah, it was San Francisco, wasn't it?
It was
Yeah.
really weird. But this felt like a Daredevil book. This felt ground level. This felt serious, dark. This was what I expect from a Daredevil book. Reading as a little bit, I have a little Daredevil knowledge. It's not one of my main characters, but this did the character, I'd say, justice, but at the same time, I didn't really like Daredevil in this book. I liked him as a person in this book. I didn't really like, but I think this done justice to the character overall. So it's really good.
Yeah, like, that's fair. I mean, we always kind of touch on the art. I mean, I think this is like in terms of like the modern day stuff, I don't think they could have picked a better artist to draw Daredevil, because I think it definitely matched. Oh, you're shaking your head. Is that like an agreement, or is that?
Oh yeah, no, I'm agreeing. Yeah, no, they couldn't have picked a better artist for this book.
Yeah. There is an element too in the second read of this, and maybe Martin, you're the same as I am. This was really good when it first came out, and I really enjoyed it. Like, so much so that like everyone has to read this. But I know what comes. I know what's still to come. I know this gets better. So rereading it again, thinking it's really good, but maybe not as good as I remember, because I know there's so much better stuff to come ahead. Does that make sense?
Completely agree. Yeah. This story does develop beyond this trade, and it does excel to a whole better level. But I think this is such a great platform to start from. You know, it is
good introduction.
A great start. Yeah, definitely.
Connie is here. Saying, "Evening, guys." She's saying she's out tonight, but I'll watch the catch up tomorrow. You may be too hungover, but enjoy your night out.
Have fun.
And we have the House of Nerd Show. Said, "Hey-o." And he says, "See that we're discussing Chip Zdarsky's stellar Daredevil run, so had to pop in." Absolutely, and that's the thing. It's a very popular run. I think. I mean, my knowledge is like you, Martin, with Daredevil. Like, it is limited, but I've enjoyed everything I've read so far. But also, I think people will tell you who are fans of Daredevil that there's never been like a really inconsistent run. He's always been quite, certainly since Frank Miller's time, there's been a certain level of consistency with Daredevil, and all their runs
definitely
been really good.
Yeah, definitely. You think there's so many big names on Daredevil. You know, you've had Ed Brubaker, Mark Waid, Andy Diggle, obviously Frank Miller, which we all know, and Kevin Smith even started the start of Marvel Knights. I think since Marvel Knights, he's had a big name on it till this day.
Yeah.
So Daredevil is very blessed with some gifted writers.
And Chip Zdarsky is the next one in line. I think Chip took over this. I mean, we read Chip Zdarsky with Sex Criminals. And I think he was always known for being that kind of goofy, comedic almost type of writer, I think. And he had obviously done Spider-Man, I think, beforehand. But taking Daredevil, maybe they weren't expecting something as dark to come, from it. And this run can be dark at times. But I think it suits. I think Zdarsky and Daredevil suit. And I'm really sad that it's ended, because I think we have one more issue to go on his run of single issues, which I think comes out next week, possibly. And that's his run done. So yeah, if you've read along, let us know in the comments what you think of this as well while we're discussing it. But if you haven't read along, read it, strap in, because you're in for a good ride. I think this whole run's really good, and this is a really good introduction. I mentioned the art. before we kind of get into the pages and stuff, just trying to kill some more time, really. Have you heard of Marco Checchetto before? Is this your first experience looking at his art? Yeah. Shane? Yeah.
Yeah, I've never heard of him before, which is a shame because this is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
Will there be one of those things that you might try and seek him out now to see what else he has done?
Absolutely. I mean, everyone in this book is just so beautifully drawn. I mean, everyone is so handsome. It's just ridiculous. It's just when Frank Castle shows up, it's just like, what? So handsome.
Frank Castle, he was quite handsome. To be fair, Matt Murdock is a handsome devil too.
Such a good pun.
Yeah,
He's such a handsome chappy. I mean, and I did take note of how many panels there were in this book of shirtless men because it was a lot. There were
only
even Cole gets naked at one point when he gets out the shower and he's just got a towel wrapped around him. I'm like, do we need so many shirtless men in this book? And I'm like, well, we don't not need them, so I'm okay with it.
And that's right. Like this run too, this arc, it introduces Cole North. He's a detective that basically doesn't want to hear the idea that superheroes above the law. It's like you're a criminal, vigilantes are criminals. He wants to bring them all down. Bit naive because that's never going to happen. Really, it's never going to happen. So at some point he might switch, and soften on his kind of stance where he wants to bring down Daredevil. Steve has called me out. I am no longer a comic book fan. Wasn't it Fraction that wrote Sex Criminals with Chip's art? It may have actually just been Matt Fraction, to be fair. Who wrote
it was.
But Chip Zdarsky done the art. But then Chip Zdarsky is the one then responsible for all those funny posters and signs in the background.
That was fantastic. We loved that, didn't we? Just zooming in on every panel.
Yeah, it still showcases his kind of wackiness, I suppose, really, and the ability to have fun. Which, to be fair, this arc wasn't a fun read in terms of it wasn't fluffy. It was dark for Marvel standards, in my opinion. Even the death of the crook, again, you see him hit his head on the brick wall, and you see his eyes kind of, and that's him. And you don't see things like that in Marvel. I don't recall certainly more modern books seeing a lot of,
no, that's
impactful. If you know what I'm trying to say, it impacts the character a lot more.
I sort of expect that sort of stuff from darker DC titles. I did it in Marvel was it's a bit of a change.
Yeah, it's a Punisher trope, isn't it? You see that sort of thing in Punisher. You don't see that in Daredevil. I mean, which doesn't really make sense. He's a street level fighter. You should see that a lot more often. Mistakes happen. I know he's overconfident and thinks he can predict exactly where to hit someone so that he does exactly the right amount of damage. And you can never, he's not Batman. Come on now. He's not that skilled that he thinks he can take down someone with a certain punch in a certain place. You don't know muscle density and fat to muscle ratio in a human body weight, height, and all that. He has to take all that into account. So
okay, Dr. Shane.
Happen. No, but I just found him quite arrogant in this book to assume that he thinks he's never going to make this sort of mistake. This is going to happen because anything can. He throws his grapple at people and he knocks them over. He doesn't know how they're going to land. It doesn't take much to land and hit your head or to land and hit your neck on a sidewalk panel and break your neck. He doesn't know these things, so to be that arrogant and think he's never going to make this mistake, I think is a bit short-sighted for him. Sorry, pardon the pun.
Yeah, that's fair. 2 puns in the first 15 minutes. Kevin's here. And hey, everyone. Kevin is our resident artiste, and he has done a Daredevil video. So do check out his playlist on our channel. He has definitely done a Daredevil video. I don't know how long ago it was. It was maybe one of the first ones he started doing for us.
But it was around the time we read the last Daredevil, the Frank Miller one.
So it is Born Again. So that will be on the playlist anyway. Do check that out with all the rest of his stuff too. I am a big fan of this art. From what I remember, Checchetto has done Old Man Hawkeye. It was like a spin-off to the Old Man Logan series. Which again, this is the level to expect. It's really good. but I don't think he's done much. He probably has in terms. I don't know there's much else he's done. I'm pretty certain he's more of an exclusive, but again, I could be wrong. And I don't know, do they have many artists that are exclusives? But I think he may just be only working on Marvel stuff. I've never known him to be in DC, unfortunately, but I'm sure Shane, you would probably love to have him over to do some DC work.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, can you imagine him drawing Batman?
Yes, he would be good as
Oh.
Batman. And this is the thing. So Chip Zdarsky is actually the current writer on the current Batman book. I know it's paused currently because of Night Terrors. Don't even talk about that. But Chip Zdarsky is the writer on it, and I would love the same creative team here to come over and just for Checchetto to do Batman along with him. That'd be fantastic. I do have to say, with this run in general, they have switched artists a few different times, but not so much. Like, there's not loads of changes. It's just sometimes Checchetto needs a few issues off to kind of get caught up, which I understand. I've always loved and appreciated runs that go on with the same writer and the same artist for the full length of the run, but I also understand it's not always possible, unfortunately. So that's fair if he takes a few breaks, but the art does suffer for it because I'm not sure who they have to come in. Very capable, I'm sure, but it's not the same standard. So that's how you know this is a good artist. Whenever you notice how bad the fellow artist is while he's taking a break, or at least catching up. But we'll get into the art. We'll talk about some of our pages. I haven't uploaded one for myself because the ones I would have picked, they're already there. So we'll just talk through them. Scott has sent us a page, and he sent us this. This is from one of the scenes when after Daredevil's kind of rescued by Frank Castle. But now he needs to bring down, is it the Owl? Is that the guy's name, the bad guy?
Yeah.
The Owl. So he obviously has to wear a shirt, puts on the Punisher shirt, and goes and battles a group of thugs. And what was his reasoning for this, Martin?
Yeah, I have got his reason. Bear with me 1 second. He said, I assumed everyone would have a page picked where Daredevil was being an absolute badass. So I went with this. I'm a big fan of the depth of the top panel and really feel like the van pops out from this image.
Yeah. So this is like a scene where one of the crooks has like an iron suit, doesn't he? Like Iron Man suit almost.
Yes.
And he attaches like a chain to like the van that's escaping with like the guns or something. And yeah, it is like the perception, is that the right word, of like that van coming through. It's really cool, and the depth is really cool. Yeah, but Daredevil's a badass quite a lot in this, to be honest. Great page, Scott. Shane, another Daredevil in a Punisher shirt.
I mean, that's why I picked this page right here. How is he not holding Cap's shield right now? That would just be the cherry on top of the cake. He looks awesome. He's got blood dripping out of his mouth. He's just standing there holding the car door as a shield. And he's got his Punisher shirt on. He looks awesome. And I do hope there's an action figure of Daredevil wearing a Punisher shirt. If not, they need to get on this.
Do you know something? I don't think there is. They've missed the trick.
And also, you say about Cap's shield, this does look very reminiscent of the first Avenger when he first chases down the guy in the streets and he rips the door off. He does the exact same pose in the second panel.
Yeah, that's cool. That's the thing. It's the Punisher shirt makes it even better. If he was just doing that in his normal getup, it's cool and all. But when you add the Punisher T-shirt, it's like times 100. It's almost
like the skull is like peeking out from behind the car door.
Yeah,
it's awesome. So but also, does anyone else feel like this art is very, very Dan Mora? Just like maybe a little dirtier.
Yes,
like grittier.
The face in this particular page, very much so.
Yeah, it has like the clean lines, I suppose, of Dan Moore style. But you're right, it's obviously grittier and dirtier, as intended to be, I suppose. But yeah, I still think Dan Moore is a touch above, to be fair. But this isn't. It's not too far behind. This is still pretty great.
I would love to see him have a crack at a cover art.
Yeah,
see what he could do with the Daredevil #1. we've got a new number 1 coming up, haven't we? Maybe we can do if you did a cover art for that.
See, this is the thing. This is how good I think that this artist is for Daredevil. I think he suits this character. Like, I feel like I always want Daredevil to be drawn this way going forward, because whoever they get in, if it's not to this standard, I'm immediately thinking, oh, it's a drop. Like, I'm not like, why should I pick this up? It's not the same as it was before. As I mentioned with the fill-in artist, they just weren't up to scratch to this kind of level. So hopefully whoever the artist is, I'm not sure it's announced yet, but hopefully if it's not the same guy, it's somebody very capable.
But I think every character has that. Every character has a definitive artist that makes you think of the character. You know, when you think Wonder Woman, you think George Perez.
Yeah,
Spider-Man. And we'll touch on John Romita Jr. in a second, but is that what you mean, that kind of level? You know, no.
I was thinking in the positive, not the negative, but yes, that sort of thing.
John Romita, we are fans, kind of, at times, sometimes, of John Romita Sr. But
yes.
Anyway.
Oh, Senior. Sorry, yes.
It's a shame. Martin, here's your page. Let's be positive. Talk about the good art.
I just went off the same as the previous page. I think Daredevil just looks an absolute badass in that Punisher shirt. This whole scene of him fighting and taking down these thugs, which is brilliant. I think every single image you see him in the Punisher shirt when he's close up just looks great.
Yeah, now that Shane's mentioned it, I think, why isn't there an action figure off this? I'll have to ask Pete if there's like a 1/6 scale figure or something. I'll have to ask him in case there is, and I don't know about it. But even like a Marvel Edge, it's a Funko Pop, even like just something to have this shirt on him.
Guaranteed someone has taken a Punisher figure and a Daredevil figure and customed it themselves and taken the chest of Punisher and put 100%. But
to be fair,
I love these.
I do have a Punisher figure and a Daredevil. I could do it myself.
You can make your own.
Yeah.
I love the trails coming off his
the tassels,
the unwoven wraps.
Yeah. Like fire coming off him. He looks like he's just burning.
It actually kind of reminds me of like the Ultimate Warrior. You know, back in like the 80s, early 90s,
the tassels.
Had the tassels and stuff. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Kev did send us a page. Just bear with me while I grab his reasons. He did give us reasons. Kev actually picked one that I was thinking for myself. It says, I like how Daredevil goes from being large in the first panel when he thinks he is right to being dwarfed by the city when he realizes he's wrong. And that's kind of what I was thinking about myself, like just sitting there in one of the skyscrapers, kind of like the burden of thought and guilt of what he's done. Obviously having that fear, like the no fear of what he has done, and it's come to that realization. So yeah, this is a cool page. I mean, I've always loved cityscape kind of pictures in general, pics in general as well. So this is pretty cool. Like there's a lot on his mind in that bottom panel, I think. So yeah, great pick.
Also, just want to add one more thing with this page, purely with that panel in the top right-hand corner. I love how Daredevil's radar is shown throughout this book. It's brilliant. I love the way it's designed, so you can actually see what he's seen.
And this is the thing.
Infrared.
Yeah, in other books they've obviously done the same thing, but it's always been slightly different. Like I think when the last one we read was blue, like it was like different colors, wasn't it? It was like a different idea. So yeah, I feel like that's a good thing for like creative freedom. Like you have the freedom to do whatever radar you want, like whatever kind of design or style. But yeah, I think that's really cool. Kingpin, the big flipping fat goose he is, isn't it? There.
But they made him mayor, just like when they made Lex Luthor president. It's like, how do these people get in power? You know they're the bad guy.
And this is one of the things too. I think, you know, if we mention like stuff that's happened before, like you're not bogged down and stuff, but there's a few things you need to know. Like Wilson Fisk is now the mayor of New York. There's no way around that. And how they become mayor, well, it doesn't matter because we're not talking about it. We're just moving forward, and that's a good thing, I suppose. But I don't want to give any spoilers, but Wilson Fisk being mayor is pretty good going forward. In the next few arcs. There's a Wilson.
I'm guessing he's going to send out an arrest warrant for Daredevil.
Not even, because you find Wilson Fisk as mayor no longer has the same influence as some of the richer crime families He's now their puppet, and I'll just say it. I'm just going to spoilers. There's an issue where he goes to visit one of the families, and he ends up like killing like their nephew in the bathroom or something because he's a big loudmouth. And the whole way it's covered up, like Wesley comes in, gets the cleaning team in, cleaning takes the body away. It's like something you see in a movie. It's fantastic. But
it's like the wolf,
story,
isn't it? Pulp Fiction style.
Yeah, that's what it's like. The wolf from Pulp Fiction, exactly. And it's so cool. And Wilson Fisk, to be fair, even later on the run, actually becomes a bit likable, because I think it's during the Keenan Black stuff. He wants to be like the mayor of the people, and he fights like the monsters, whatever it is, in New York, and people start chanting for him and stuff. It's really cool, really good run. I recommend it. So hopefully, if we have talked around and this inspires you to read on, please do. It's definitely worth it. Steve, the guy who picked the book, has sent us this page, and Martin, I believe you have his reasons.
Yeah, I've got Steve's what he sent to me. He said he just loves how he's going toe to toe with Cole, and the rest of the force are watching on, which is quite cool. And then you have the flashing lights in the background from the cars adding to the atmosphere in this particular scene. And it does. I totally agree with that. The lights on the NYPD sort of, as well as
and the steam and the smoke or whatever it is, the mist. So it's the atmosphere. So it's all really cool, I think. Big fan. We did mention, we'll have done in previous weeks, sorry, we do sometimes look at variant covers, and there was a good array of variant covers, quite a lot of good, some not so, but we'll talk about that in a second. Here are the good ones, at least we think so. Yes. My favorite there probably is the Scotty Young, and I am a massive Scotty Young fan.
Yes.
But then you have Gabriel Dell'Otto, Mario Scalera too, all really cool covers.
I like the Quesada cover as well. That's really nice.
And Alex Maleev, he was the artist on one of the runs with Bendis, wasn't he? Bendis and Maleev had
yes,
a run.
He was, yeah.
But yeah, I'm all about the Scotty Young, me personally. Dell'Otto.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. No, you go.
I was going to say Dell'Otto I like Dell'Otto's work, but I find his work with covers very samey. And what I mean by that is like you literally get all the different characters lined up, and they'll be practically the same, just like in their own suits or whatever.
It's almost like he's doing a group shot and giving you each character on a cover. So like if you put them all together, you would have this amazing wall art that would just go together flawlessly.
Kind of like Alex Ross, but maybe just not as good as Alex Ross.
Alex Ross is a bit more dynamic with his covers as well, you know.
But speaking of not as good as Alex Ross,
bargain bin time.
We've got the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, if you want to get this series and you want to read it for cheap, you can buy these covers in the 50p bin in your comic book shop.
We hold on. Let me do this here, just in case there are big, massive JR fans. Trigger warning: I am not a fan of John Romita Jr. I know some people are. I know a lot of people aren't. He definitely divides opinions. I think when you look at images like this and you see the kind of misproportion of the body, like the big jaw, the weird shoulders, and whatever else.
The shading's in the wrong place. Like he doesn't know where the light is coming from in any one of his pictures. It's just he doesn't know how to compile an image.
Yeah. But
I can't remember which book it was, but was it World War Hulk he done the interiors for?
Oh, yeah, it was World War Hulk, yeah.
That was the point where I jumped off.
And if you remember Planet Hulk, how good it was, and then we go into World War Hulk with John Romita Jr. But this is the thing, for everyone who could criticize JR, there will always be people who will defend it just as much, which is fair. And people, I think one of the things they do say, he does really good sequential storytelling in his art. That's all fine, but these kind of static images are horrendous. I'm sorry, I do not like them. Please don't cancel me, don't at me. I do not like.
Well, World Comics Review is asking what's going on in the bottom left. So
the bottom left. I don't even think
John Romita Jr. knows what's going on in the bottom left.
Yeah. What is going on? Because it's like, what? Pass. We don't know.
See, I don't mind the grainy look of Daredevil, but that bottom left-hand corner of it, just no. Look, art's subjective. Everyone's got their own opinions of art, and unfortunately, I think we're all in the same boat. We're not a fan of JRJR.
I think we say that to excuse poor artists when we say art is subjective. You know, Michelangelo is an artist. That is not subjective. That is art and has been for hundreds of years and is in galleries across the world. That's art. John Romita Jr. will not be in galleries 300 years from now. Let's be honest. Let's be fair. He will not.
He does have some iconic Spider-Man images, though, doesn't he? Just like his dad, I suppose.
I think if you hunted him down, if you went through some of his work, I guarantee you'd be able to find some pages that are worth sort of saying that this is really nice. But from my experience of what I've seen from certain covers, and obviously with World War Hulk, and like, no, it's not for me.
But don't let our don't let our dislike of JRJR detract from the gorgeous art in this book. Thankfully, he did not draw the interiors in this. ALB is saying Wilson Fisk is great in every medium he's being portrayed in. I agree. The what's now the Netflix, now the Disney Plus kind of Punisher and Daredevil series, he was great in it. I can't think of that guy's name. Vincent somebody.
Yep.
Vincent Kennedy McMahon. I'm not sure.
Is all I think of is that is the 90s animated series for Spider-Man.
Oh yes,
like,
really
he was great at that.
Yeah, he was. You're right. And even the Spider-Verse movie. Very, very different approach, but yeah, very good. Last time I was following Judge Dredd, PJ maybe became mayor of Mega City 1 tough, though he was in disguise. I'm not you're a Judge Dredd guy, aren't you?
I've got some Judge Dredd. I haven't dived that deep into it.
Yeah. So is PJ then kind of like the Wilson Fisk or the Lex Luthor of that universe?
I couldn't say. World of Comics left to share that. I've not made it that far in.
And ALB is I'm all for changing the channel to Daredevil Book Club. Maybe we'll be a lot more niche and we'll get a bigger audience. Who knows? And Kevin is saying he draws a very good city. Yeah, that's fair. We don't have to do like body proportions and whatever else.
That's like when your child comes to you with a really bad drawing and you go, "Oh, you coloured in the lines." So you find one positive in their work.
I don't want to say it. I'm going to assume that he just obviously followed his dad's footsteps. And did he write his coattails for a while, do you think? And got the jobs that, is that unfair to say? Is that?
Well, no, because he's using the name. If you don't want to use your dad's name, you do what Stephen King did, and you change your name to get your own following, so people don't know who you are at the beginning. So he clearly wanted to get his dad's fans, didn't he, in there on his side.
And for anyone that don't know, that's Joe Hill, isn't it?
Yeah,
Joe Hill.
Stephen King's
and
son.
There's another son, but I can't think of his name. His other son has I think it's a different name. He's two sons.
He would have a different name. Joe Hill has his own name. You don't name your children the same name, Phil.
Oh, yes. I get that. I just meant in terms of, like, he also has a different name from his father.
It could be Clive.
Does JRJR still get his variants put on the fridge? Good job. Here's a gold star. Oh, we're going to get so much hate from all the JRJR fans.
I think we'll be safe. We might get one or two.
Yeah, and like I say, we're just having a laugh. He's done well for himself with limited skill. But anyway, moving on. I say that like I'm a professional artist. You see my drawings over in Pete's art show. I'm not.
But we pay for the product. We're entitled to review it, whether we like it or not. So if you buy a comic book and someone is drawing the book and you do not like it, you are entitled to say you do not like it.
Yeah, true.
Fair comment.
World Comics Review saying PJ maybe was a serial killer as a kid. So I thought PJ. So PJ maybe is his name.
Yeah, I just caught onto that as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
PJ. It's like maybe he was a serial killer.
Yeah, that's what I was thought. So yeah, PJ maybe was a serial killer as a kid, but this story was when he was growing up. He stole the identity of a charitable philanthropist. Yeah, the Judge Dredd world. That's something that I mean, I've got a few. They call them progues, don't they? Like it's the old
Yes.
school magazines. I have a few of them somewhere, hidden away somewhere.
I've got a ton of the case files up there, but I think I've only got through maybe 1 or 2 of the case files so far. I haven't got too deep into it.
I have a bunch of audiobooks on my playlist to get to at some point. Judge Dredd.
And I've got the Sylvester Stallone movie to get
No
my film.
way.
What's
So
I actually
much
really
cheese.
like. I
Put that
actually
away.
really like. No, I like it.
Carl
It's-
Urban. Carl Urban.
Yeah,
the
the Carl Urban
story.
one's pretty good.
Amazing.
But Sylvester Stallone, I mean, this is back in the day. It's a proper action or proper 90s comic book movie. Like it looks like
Rob
it.
Schneider.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
No.
It's so good.
Dredd doesn't take his
Cheesy.
helmet off.
I am the law.
And that's how I was going to say. I was going to try and do that. I thought, do I do this on the internet? Do I make a fool of myself? But then I'll let Shane do it instead. Yeah. There we go. Aye. Oh, very good. Brilliant. So yeah, we'll move on to the story in this, and we've kind of touched on it in terms of new number 1. You're not being bogged down with stuff. But on my second read with this, like you do obviously notice that something's happened before, and I can understand if you're a new reader of reading this, you might be thinking, "Oh, it's something big. Wilson Fisk is the mayor. Daredevil's had a serious injury, concussion, whatever. Should I know this before I go into this?" And I don't think you do. But this is a negative for me. Reading this a second time round or another time round, Matt Murdock did get very wimpy and moany and wasn't a bit whingy. Like, and the thing is, I think it was Jessica Jones who was great for a very short period of time. She was in that. She was really good. Basically said that wise up. This happens. This is part of the business. You're taking risks. Really extreme risks. We are needed to compete or to combat this kind of crime, whatever else. These things happen. You've killed one person. It's sad. It's bad. Grieve and feel guilty, but you need to move on because there's more criminals to kind of fight, so to speak. Like, do you agree with me? Like, Shane, you were nodding there. Do you think he was a bit mopey at times?
Yeah, the character. That's what I said. The character of Matt Murdock in this, I didn't like. I really like the book. I really like the story. Great as an issue 1. Yes, I know things came before, but I didn't feel like I was missing anything. Fisk is mayor. Okay, I can deal with that. I can just assume he got there because of his money and his contacts. That's fine. I really enjoyed it. But Matt Murdock was just, I think the biggest gripe I had is he's still a lawyer, isn't he? Like they haven't rebooted him. He's a lawyer. Okay. So he doesn't know the difference between killing someone and murdering someone, which is a really big issue for a lawyer to not know the difference between those things. So he kept thinking that he murdered someone. He didn't murder anyone, killed someone. Completely different in the eyes of the law. He's a lawyer. He should know that. So that was my biggest gripe going into this. And the fact that it was someone who would just robbed a liquor store. Okay, so that I don't care. Okay, that person has no value to me in this story. So he killed him. I do not care. That person decided to commit a crime and got killed. I'm okay with that. It should have been an innocent bystander that died.
For the more
Through something dead. For the impact for me as a reader. The criminal, I do not care if that criminal died. That criminal decided to rob the place and then decided to stand there and try to take on a crime fighter. So that's twice he forfeited his right to live. So I don't have any sympathy for him. And then for Matt Murdock to feel so bad about it through the entire book, even when Jessica Jones and Luke Cage and Iron Fist are telling him, we've all done it. We've all accidentally done this at some point. It happens. You cannot avoid it, especially when you're crime fighting for decades. This happens. So I was like, why is Daredevil being like this? He has obviously seen how many crime cases where police have done this, where law-abiding citizens have done this. So why is it affecting him so much? Why is he so... I get that you don't want to kill. I get that he's very religious, but then don't punch people in the face for a living, for a hobby. Do you know? you can't have it both ways. You can't be a devout religious person and then go out nighttime and punch people in the face. You can't do both.
See, I agree with you. I thought it didn't bother me as much when he was going on about the robber. I sort of let that slide. It was more, I felt like this was him challenging his faith and questioning his faith. That's what I felt reading it. I feel like this is potentially him rebuilding his faith and becoming what he was before, because that is, again, a negative. I want to know what happened before this, because I want to know what put him into this state where he feels like he has to question everything. Because obviously I feel like I've missed something.
Yeah. And just to touch on that, Kevin's saying here, I think that his Catholic beliefs are overriding his knowledge of the law, maybe. And if I recall in the flashbacks, he was talking to the priest, and he said something like Jesus was violent when he had to be.
Yes.
But then the priest was like, well, Jesus was the Son of God. You're just the man. Like you'd obviously, what's the word he used? Like, you know, you kill once, you turn to violence, you almost like seek it out and you thrive on it, so to speak. So I'm wondering, is he having that conflict with himself now because he's killed this person? Does he think he's like a taste for it or something? Or if he becomes complacent and maybe he doesn't feel as guilty, will he do it more often? So maybe he feel like he has to feel less guilt in order to make himself better, to be able to continue to do what he's doing, possibly.
Yeah, I just felt like it was another layer to the rebuild of this character. But I do completely agree with Shane. It would have been so much more impactful and so much more heartfelt if it was an innocent bystander as opposed to a criminal. Yeah. Because you do ask that question, and Shane is 100% right. You've been fighting crime for all these years, and it's now that you're questioning what you've done is murder.
Yeah,
you know, it
could even be something like, I mean, we always kind of rewrite stories slightly in moments, but I agree. If it was a bystander, I feel like if a bystander probably do die all the time. Like if Daredevil's fighting a cosmic being and a bridge collapses, there's only hundreds of casualties, right? So he's bound to be used to that. But in terms of him directly doing it, maybe if the bystander was like a good Samaritan and wanted to step in, and maybe Daredevil struck them by mistake, they fell back, hit the head in the wall, and he died that way. That, maybe you're right, as a reader, for us to feel more sorry for Matt Murdock, that would maybe work slightly better. But hindsight's a great thing, and maybe they didn't think that at the time.
Or even it could have been they were robbing the place, he comes upon the robbery, the guys come running out, but along with them, the people in the shop come running out as well. So as he attacks, he's not too sure which ones are the criminals and which are the innocent people.
Yeah.
And he could accidentally barge one, and, you know, because these things happen. But it's the fact that he was a criminal. I personally, I know the character of Daredevil cares, and that's the whole point. But we saw, what was the other one we read, which was all about his faith? We saw him lose his faith and then build himself back up. That was done really, really well, because that's what the book was about.
I think broke up and down, didn't it? Born Again.
Yeah.
Yep.
I feel like this one should have been called Fallen Angel if he's killed someone, you know.
Yeah.
No
just thinking
fear,
of it as
I don't
well,
get the name.
Just thinking of it as well, it also begs the question of what we said before. We said we didn't want him in the daytime. We like him doing it at night, yeah? So if someone's robbing the place when no one's there, what customers are going to be in this shop at silly o'clock at night?
Exactly.
He's patrolling in the night. They're robbing the shop when it's closed. So that sounds really silly, but you know, that's
you've
got to take into account. Maybe that's why they went down the criminal route, because he's out patrolling overnight. He's not wandering around in the daytime.
Right, but then it could be like a homeless person or something. You know, there could have been some bystander. But I know you're saying, yes, there's obviously less chance of it, I suppose. Scott has appeared in the chat. Saying, hey all, so I couldn't be there tonight. Hope you're all having an awesome night and enjoying this discussion from these fantastic and beautiful hosts. Plural, not singular, not just referring to me, referring to all three of us. I know what he really means. Thanks, Scott. Yeah. Kevin is saying you wouldn't have had the cool Punisher scenes if he killed a bystander, though. They were cool.
The
scenes.
clickbait.
That's true.
That was the clickbait issue.
Yeah. That's
Because
right.
Punisher wouldn't have cared if he killed a bystander. It's the fact that
This
he
is
killed a
very
criminal
true.
which drove him.
Yeah.
Well
Yeah.
pointed out.
And I'll be saying maybe a security guard could work. Another possibility.
Yeah, because if
Yeah,
he came out, if the security guard came out with a gun, as the three of them came out with guns, and he just saw four people with guns come running out of a shop, he could have thrown his baton at one of them, not knowing it. Because I mean, I get that he's got sonar, but he cannot differentiate between people that precisely to know the difference between a guard and three armed men.
Plus, that's the thing. He touched on quite a lot of times that the heart rate, you can tell if you're lying or telling the truth. But in those split seconds, in the midst of a fight,
They'd
right.
all be adrenaline going. They'd all be pumping.
Especially if you're meant to be off your game. You're not, peak kind of fighting ability, whatever.
Exactly.
Triple
I just
G
think
Comics,
that's for me.
Yeah, Triple D Comics here says, "Up nerds, sorry I'm late." Peter, let me know, has there been a 1/6 scale figure or any action figure of Daredevil wearing the Punisher t-shirt from this book? We were talking about this earlier. If there is not, why is there not? Because that's so cool. I think
if there is, where can we buy it from?
Exactly. We all need one of those in our life. Scott's keeping tight-lipped on who the most beautiful host is, but I know. Shane, loving that hoodie, says Pete. It's a cool hoodie.
Thank you. If I put it down like this, you could pretend it's Daredevil.
Yeah, it does. It works that way too. So yeah, what did you think of Cole North? Because I liked him. I thought he was cool, but I also feel like that was done before. And again, I don't want to be so negative on this story that I love, but that's again another thing. Cop comes in, wants to change the world, wants to bring out all the people with special abilities. It's not a new original idea. I thought it was done quite well. Agree?
It was a very generic sort of, as you say, a copy and paste job where we've seen this before in multiple mediums. But yeah, I didn't mind the character. I think knowing beyond this story, or this particular volume, his character does develop more. But from this first volume, he's that new cop in town, trying to turn, set the world alight and make his mark on the city, and he feels Daredevil is his sort of his go-to to make his mark. And
what I did like about him though is that his partner, he made the points, and his partner's kind of with him almost, but he's been there for quite a long time, but he's in the same boat as him as such. But also, like, as much as he wants to take down Daredevil, he has the sights on the mayor. He wants to take down Wilson Fisk. So I like it for that aspect. He has bigger ambitions to bring down the big fish. But I do still think it was quite an easy trope, so to speak, if it's been done before.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's everything. Gotham does it all the time. But what annoys me is you're paid by the taxpayers to protect the citizens of New York. Maybe, I don't know, stop crime before you try to stop the vigilantes. Like, maybe deal with that. Maybe if people weren't robbing liquor stores at 3 a.m, Daredevil wouldn't need to be patrolling the streets if there was a cop on every corner. If you were out patrolling rather than sitting in the office doing paperwork, I don't know. Maybe do your job, and then Daredevil wouldn't be needed, would he?
And Spider-Man and Fantastic Four.
Well, no, you need the cosmic powered people to deal with the cosmic threat, but the street level people would not be needed if the cops did their job.
But they're all in New York, aren't they? They're all in New York. We literally have so many heroes in New York. Like, we just might as well retire the place.
To be fair, I think this Cole North character has legs. I think ALB's touched on it there. Like, they went for the Batman Gordon vibes. I'm sure it's going for the people to attach to, and this has the early makings, I suppose, of the kind of Gordon Batman relationship. And Daredevil's, he's had that with a few beat cops in past runs, but never like a leading detective. I don't think he has connections obviously through the Law Society and stuff, but never like a lead detective. So yeah, I'm intrigued.
I've not read on. So can I ask? Will they become friends at some point, and will he wear the Daredevil outfit at some point to take over from Daredevil for a night or two for some reason?
If that
Obviously gonna
does
come.
happen, then that is copying Batman, obviously. Should I spoil it? I wouldn't say they become friends, but at some point they do work together to bring down a common enemy. But I wouldn't
Fisk.
call them friends. Yeah. But they do work really well together. Like I say, maybe this first volume of Cole North isn't the best one for him in terms of building him up as a character you might like, but I think going forward, yeah.
I mean,
I
I
think
liked him just fine when he got out of the shower and had nothing but a towel on.
Yeah.
That's how you make me like
any.
any character. It works great for me.
You big perv. Pete is breaking our hearts. Nope, but there is a cool hot toy Daredevil from the Netflix series, which of course he has, because he has everything. And he is saying, hit that thumbs up, which just reminds you, we do have a thing for that. Please like, comment, subscribe, follow us all on Instagram. Everything's down below. And follow Steve on Instagram. I think it's OmniSteve is his name, his tag.
OmniSteve, yeah.
Because it was his pick for this week. So yeah. I also like the cameos. You know, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
The Punisher was also the standout one, obviously. He had the most to do. I love just on this. This is obviously not a Punisher book, but if this, I don't know too much about the Punisher, but if this is anything to go by, the fact that he basically says, "I won't kill the guy who he's holding hostage alongside Aiden Daredevil. That's fine. I'll not kill him." But then the guy lifts an automatic rifle about to shoot the Punisher. He goes, "Oh, shoots him dead because he has to." Like when he picked up the gun, I gave him a chance to walk out the door. He didn't. So yeah,
that's right.
It was cool. It was a fun part in that story. And if that is something the Punisher does, I'm gonna have to look into this more. I think he's a cool character as well. Looks really cool.
Yeah, and he says to Daredevil, doesn't he? He says, like, you know, if you're responsible. If you don't put them down, you're responsible for everyone they kill after that.
That's to say, they're talking about criminals having families, but they're saying yes, but if you let him go, he may kill hundreds of other innocent people who also have families. So
that's right.
Take your pick.
You know, the owner of that liquor store, he has a family to feed. So these people that robbed his liquor store, he can't feed his family that week now.
Exactly.
Because these three people felt like they were entitled to take his stuff. Now, if that liquor store owner had come out with a shotgun and shot all three of them, absolutely fine. No problem there whatsoever. That's self-defense, stand your ground, 100%. Because Daredevil did it, everyone's on his back about it.
He will, just on this, actually, the one line in the book, it does mention the fact that now that Daredevil has killed, it does kind of change the dynamic for even the criminal gangs to think, well, Daredevil's no longer a guy who just beats you up and sends you to jail and you get out in 6 months. He's now willing to kill. So it's almost as if, and dare I say it, like Daredevil needs one of those every so often, just to remind people, like, I can do this if I have to, you know.
Yeah.
Makes him more of a threat.
Too far.
Yeah,
100%. I mean, with Batman, everyone knows that he doesn't kill. So they go to him like, "Oh, well, you're not going to kill me. So what? So what? You're going to put me in hospital? Who cares? Like, I'll get out. I'll be fine." And he's like, "I might not be able to walk right for the rest of my life, but you're not going to kill me." They all know this. Even ground level thugs know this. Mm-hmm. So this is why when he takes out Joker or Two-Face or anything, they know they're not going to get killed. So they know they'll go to Arkham for a week, get their sane certificate, come walking back out again, do the same thing again, and they'll just get beat up by Batman, and that's it. So if Batman killed once in a while, there you go. People would be like, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't cross Batman because he might kill me. He might. If I cross the line, he might kill me." And that's what Daredevil definitely needs that. He's the devil of Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah.
He's not the puppy dog of Hell's Kitchen. The devil of Hell's Kitchen.
Steve is saying he's similar to me. He said, reading the Punisher in this made me want to read some Punisher.
Yes, but I want him drawn like this. I want this artist to do Punisher. Because if I go and read a Punisher book and he looks like he's drawn by JJ Jr., you know, that JR Jr., then I'm going to be like, oh.
There is a omnibus reprint from the Garth Ennis. Who done that art? It was the guy who done The Boys, wasn't it?
Yes.
I forget his name.
I might be completely wrong. Cody Walker did the start, didn't he?
No, You're thinking Corey Walker. That was the guy who done Invincible, wasn't it? No, it was
I'll have a look.
Robertson or something or something. But anyway, it's the same guy. It's due for a reprint. Scott is saying hashtag sassy Shane. Yeah. And Triple G saying the recent Punisher miniseries is superb. It's a 12 issue, which actually ties in with this run. Funny enough, actually. So,
Okay.
if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, Pete, I think I don't want to spoil things again, but Daredevil and Elektra want to take down the hand, but the Punisher becomes like the head of the hand or something, like the Foot Clan, but that's the hand. Punisher becomes like their leader or something. So they're obviously destined to kind of have a bit of a back and forth. But I don't know too much. I haven't read too much into that Punisher run, but it's something that's on my radar as well. But unfortunately, I don't think it's drawn by Marco Checchetto, which is a shame. Did you find that guy's name? Were you looking for it there, Martin?
So I didn't look. I was listening to what you were saying. Sorry.
All right, no, that's okay.
I can have a look though. Go on. Carry on.
This then is on positive stuff. Shane, in terms of the writing style, I thought, yes, Daredevil was mopey, but it didn't. There wasn't loads of exposition, obviously, which was good. It was just kind of good action. But you know what I really liked about it at this very start? It's how cocky Matt Murdock was. Goes into the bar, picks up a good-looking girl, brings her home, and then it's just a really good start. Didn't bog us down with a lot of stuff. Didn't give us a lot of backstory, but still had that kind of conflict he would have with him being a good Catholic boy, whatever else. Plus, it didn't give us his origin as a reboot number one. It just gives us him in the church one day with his goggles or whatever it was on. I like that, but he still was able to do this well because everyone knows the Daredevil stuff. And if you don't, you can go back and read it and then do this.
Yeah.
Agree?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the pacing in this book was fantastic. 5 issues, they just flew by. Absolutely flew by. If there was another 2, 3, 4 issues in this, I would have been quite happy to just carry on. It wouldn't have taken that much longer. It's like an hour's read, if that.
Sorry, I'll jump in. The artist you're looking at is Derek Robertson. So you were bang on.
Yeah. Just couldn't think of the guy's first name. All right. So Shane, you're not okay. So you're not a big Marvel guy, and you're not a Daredevil guy. But would you read on from here? Would you want to? Like you've mentioned there, if there was more issues in this, you'd be happy enough. Would this be something that you'd like to read on?
Actually, yeah. The other one, the last one we read in San Francisco, no. I wasn't having a good time with that one. I wasn't enjoying that. I think that was just too light and fluffy. This is dark and gritty and serious, and that's what I want. I want serious stories. You have your fun characters, your Deadpools and your Gwenpools, and then you have your serious characters like Daredevil and Punisher. So that's what I want. I don't want a serious Deadpool. I don't want a slapstick Daredevil. And this was the right amount of seriousness for me. So yeah, I would 100% read on. I think it's only 36, 38 issues.
35 initially, but then there's been another 14 since. So they rebooted again number 1, and there was an event in between called Devil's Reign. So you're probably looking at either one big hefty omnibus or maybe potentially 2 volumes. But yeah, I've read the whole run. I'm not up to date. I'm a few issues behind, but I've read the first 35 issues of this part of it. Scott said he definitely wants to read on. And Steve said you definitely need to read on. It only gets better, and it does. And
I have the second trade to read tomorrow. So
oh, nice. And Triple G saying great read, worth you guys checking it out. At least referring to the Punisher. There you are, 100%. Should read it on for anyone who enjoyed this. And it's going to be 2 omnibus. The first one has been. That's right. Volume 1 has been correct.
And Devil's Reign's been solicited as well.
Devil's Reign, yeah. But yeah, at least we ended we're ending on a positive talk. We had a bit of a rant there for about 10 minutes, didn't we? And Kev's also agreeing that this series is great. Okay, this is such a great series, but what did Volume 1 score? Guys, if you've read along, pop your score in the chat. We'll add them up, collate them of ours, see where this comes on the leaderboard. It is squeaky bum time. We're heading towards the end of the season. Squeaky bum time? You ever heard that? It's an Alex Ferguson reference about football and stop his time. I get it.
I know it's all good.
Yeah. So yeah, we're heading towards the business end of the season. Who's going to top that leaderboard? Will Steed knock Pete off the top spot with Daredevil Volume 1? No fear. Let's find out. Let us know your scores. I'll start with Martin. You go ahead. Give us your score.
Right, you know I'm going to start well though. That's why you're asking me. I've not been shy. I love Daredevil. First Daredevil run I've read. Really enjoyed this. I read this first volume and then I went straight through another 4 trades. I only stopped because I read something else and I haven't gone back. So I will reread this again. I love some of the changes that happened further down the line as well, especially with like Elektra. So this is a great run. This first volume is a great introduction. I do wish I'd known a little bit more prior to what happens, but I will get to that at some point. It didn't hold me back on this story. It still didn't stop the momentum building up and the excitement to move forward onto another volume. As I said, I went through 5, so enjoyed it that much. I'm leaving it a little bit of room because I know this does get better and it does get into the realms of top tier level. But I'm going to give this volume alone an 8 out of 10.
Nice.
Straight
in with an 8 from Martin. Shane? I know you were struggling beforehand, weren't you, for the score?
Yes, but I've picked one now. I had 2. I was going between 2 and I've picked. This is everything I expect in a Daredevil book. Seriousness, dark, gritty, gorgeous art, Wilson Fisk, Daredevil being Daredevil. I really enjoyed this. Out of all the Daredevil stuff we've read, this is my favorite. The last 2, I didn't have a good time. Not because they were poorly done, but they were just they didn't feel like. Well, the last one didn't feel like Daredevil. The one before with all the faith stuff, that was very, very Daredevil. But this one felt like an action Daredevil book, and I really, really appreciate it. The art, oh my god, the art is absolutely gorgeous. Such beautiful faces on everyone in this book, and I appreciate a good face in a book. I think I would. Well, I know I'm reading on because tomorrow I'm reading the next volume because I want to see what happens. That last panel of him just sat there as Spider-Man walks away, sort of, I'm not angry with you. I'm disappointed. That sort of thing. It's just broke him. I was like, yeah, I need to read on. So obviously, everyone's saying it's going to get better. I don't know. I haven't read on, so I can only go by this volume. A few spoilers from what's to come I've seen on Instagram and stuff, but I don't know anything about that. So just this volume alone, I'm going to give an 8 for what I've read.
Ooh, nice. We have had a few scores in the chat. I'm going to give mine, so you have approximately 1 minute left to get your scores into to be counted. I'm pretty much in the same kind of areas where you guys are. I think this was like an easy jumping on point for somebody who hasn't read too much Daredevil. In terms, it didn't bog you down with stuff that had gone before. It does make me want to know what happened, yes, but with Daredevil, it seems easy enough to go back and read and put it together, so to speak. The art is fantastic. I feel like, again, knowing the series, whenever it changes artists for different volumes, you notice, and it's not a good thing that you notice, if you know what I'm trying to say. You want to keep this guy on as long as you can. He done a fair amount of he didn't dip out too often, but he has done a few times. And if they do reboot this to number 1, which they are, if they do change the artist, it's going to be a whole, like, the bar set for me. And people could argue that there's other runs of Daredevil have better artists. That's fine. I think this is one of the better ones, in my opinion. Love it. Chip Zdarsky I like a lot. Like, again, for being a kind of, wacky kind of personality, and I'm going to see that in one of his books in the past, like, to go this serious and this dark. I mean, this was his. When I said years ago when I first read this should be him on Batman, and he is now on Batman. Like, he is literally on the biggest selling comic book there is because of this. Like, this was like a stepping stone. I'm not trying to, underplay Daredevil at all, but Batman's Batman is slightly different, and he's done so well. Love the story, love the characters, even the cameos of the Punisher, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Spider-Man. Wilson Fisk is really good in this too, even though he's very short, because he just has that joy in knowing that Daredevil has fucked up. And I like that a lot. And it's a good introduction to a great run, but I like Martin. I'm going to leave it some wiggle room because I know this does get better. So I am also the guys on the screen here tonight going in with an 8 out of 10. This does get better. Please, everyone, read on. We had a few people saying, Sam said read on, definitely read on. Read on. You will not be disappointed. Please do. So that's our scores in. The ones from the chat. Let's see, we had Kevin give it an 8 out of 10. It's a solid first volume, an intro to Daredevil for new readers. Totally agree. Steve, the guy who picked the book, 8.5 for me. Loved it as a jumping on point. Never felt lost reading it at all. I agree, totally. Sam Taylor has gave a 9 with an applause. He's standing up, giving us a 9 out of 10.
Standing ovation.
Yeah, standing ovation. The Comic Fed has jumped in and just, what up, fam? How are you? We're just about to end the show and gather our kind of thoughts and scores. See where this comes on the leaderboard.
Have we got Scott's score?
Yes, Scott has given it a 7. And he, just bear with me. He says, excuse my limited knowledge. I don't know it at all. But I really enjoyed how it felt that Chip Zdarsky kind of brought Daredevil back to square one, making him feel and appear vulnerable. I enjoyed the religious themes. This fella likes a really good place for new readers to start. And this is the theme, I suppose. So a few people mentioned it. You can easily jump into this. Like with a character like Daredevil, he's had countless runs. What is he in his legacy number? It must be in the 700s, 800s by now, surely.
He's over 7 or 8, definitely. So
yeah. So to jump into this as a new volume, new reader, and pick this up, great feat by Chip Zdarsky. He says the art was great, moody and I can't say this word, somber. And I love seeing everything from Daredevil's view. Such a great concept. I feel like this story is set up only to go on and up from here. I hope we get the read on in the future. Maybe we will. And he gave it a 7 out of 10. And the Comic Fed come in there. Well done. 9 out of 10. He's obviously read this before. Zdarsky's run will go down as one of the best volumes in the history of Daredevil. That's a big statement. But I agree. I think this is one of the better ones. So yeah.
Well, I think if you're an Omni collector, pre-order that Omni because I think it will go out of print very quickly.
Yeah. So let's see where it comes on the leaderboard. So with those scores, the guys in the chat, you guys give it an average of 8.7. Is that right? No, that's correct. Incorrect. 8.6. Apologies. I'm just trying to give it more. With my 8,
it's not your pick.
Rounding up.
It might as well be. With my 8, Shane's 8, Martin's 8. Those guys on the screen here has given an average of 8. But with Scott's 7, added to that herd, it gives us an average of 7.9. So does it reach the leaderboard? Does it reach the top 10? Let's just see where it comes. Dun, dun, dun. No, it does not. As you know, this is the business end of the season. We are looking 8.1 or above to make into the top 10, and unfortunately does not knock Stray Dogs off. But what I will say with that, I know we do the sequels books. If we read a few of these volumes, this could well take the leaderboard or the top spot for the sequels, because this does only get better.
Easy top 5, no questions.
I mean, even if the quality stayed like this, it doesn't have to get better. The quality stayed like this as a constant, that would be amazing for me.
Mm-hmm. I feel like I need to check my scores because I feel like is that it? 7.9. But yeah,
Scott will double check next week for us. Don't worry.
It is 7.9. 7.9. 25. So I can't even round it up.
So where does it come on the leaderboard then? Where's the second page?
Yes, you're right. Apologies. There we go. Joint 8th with Fantastic Four Full Circle. Yeah.
Is it still top 10?
Yeah, it's technically speaking, the top 10. It's just not on the doesn't have the glory of appearing in there. But Daredevil Born Again is there. But yeah. That has been Daredevil by Chip Zdarsky, Volume 1, No Fear, as picked by Steve in the chat for our Heart's Choice. All we need to do is see what we have left coming forward for next week. Just bear with me while I find it. Yeah, let's see. It's my pick.
Professional.
Yeah, no, it's my pick. It's going to be good. Just wait and see this. Yes, my pick next week. It is Do a Powerbomb, drawn and written by the wonderful Daniel Warren Johnson. I'm sure Mike Spicer's in there too at some point. They always work together. This was my favorite book of 2022. Basically, I want the top spot, and I'm coming for it, Pete. I'm sorry. This is the book that may just take it. You know, I don't want to be that guy. I tried all year not to be that guy, to let you guys have the top spot, but now I want it. So
The
let's see
bell's
if I can-
rung.
Exactly.
So we're
Let's see if I
coming
can-
in with a wrestling book.
Well,
This-
last season he came out with Magic Order, didn't he? And the last week got his last pick.
Like an
This is
ace
what
up
I
the
was-
sleeve.
Yeah, this is what I was going to say. I came in last minute last year, and I took the top spot. I'm coming forward again, and yes, looking forward to it next week. Scott is confirming, but 7.9 is correct. Thanks very much. And ALB, I'm taking that score already. That's on the spreadsheet for next week. 10 out of 10. And Steve has been wanting to read this for a while. I recommend it. Don't wait for the hardcover. Just read it now. Just read it and enjoy it, and then buy the hardcover when it comes out. So yeah, there's no thumbnail for Kev's drawing. I'm not 100% certain if there is one for Kevin this week. Do you guys know?
Not sure.
Just wonder if there's not, because there is a plethora. Is that the right word?
Plethora.
Plethora of fantastic draw along videos from Kevin. Like I say, there is a Daredevil one from previous, so do check that out. And if you do draw along, send us your attempts, and we will either laugh at them or really showcase and show them off. I'm just joking. We love it all. Yeah. Thanks,
We'll compare
everyone.
them to JR Jr.'s artwork and see whose is better.
No
Well,
competition
yeah.
now. I think the viewers win.
Anyway, thanks everyone for joining us. We've won over time. We've had fun, had a blast. We'll see you next week, and do check out everything else on our channel. Please like, subscribe, comment. Love you all. See you next week. Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Love you.